So today we're going to be showing you how we are planting our new pistachio trees. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here in January of 2023. So for those of you who have been following us along, you know that we have at this point over 180 fruiting trees, vines, and shrubs here on this newly established functioning farm in the Arizona desert. Now we do focus on fruit trees, but a handful of these trees are actually nut trees. And that's what we're going to be planting with you today. So now we're in our western orchard. This is where we have all of our stone fruit. In fact, right behind me here, there's an almond tree. Got a couple other almond trees here. And while this isn't necessarily a stone fruit, because we have our nut trees here, we wanted to try to keep these all together. So pistachios, will they grow here in Arizona? The answer is yes. Lori and I, we do consultations here around the valley and in certain parts of central Arizona. One of those consultations was in Congress, just outside of Congress, and that's only about an hour from us here. So now one of the things when we were driving to that consultation, we passed by a beautiful, very old pistachio farm. Now, while that's slightly higher elevation, it's very similar as far as the climate is concerned to what we have here. Very hot summers, quite cold winters, so we think we have a pretty good shot at getting pistachios to eventually produce for us. So you can see I have 2 trees here with me. We're actually going to be planting a total of 3 trees today. The challenge with pistachios is they actually do need a male and female in order to produce fruit. We decided we're going to go with the Golden Hills variety of pistachio. After doing some research, we think with our lower chill hours, we might have a better chance with this particular variety. It's newer than some of the common ones that you would find in California. Now, it also needs a pollinator. So the Golden Hills is our producing variety, and the Randy is the male pollinator. So the way we have this set up is we have our 2 female trees that are about 30 feet or so from our male. So we're hopeful that we're close enough that we'll get some cross-pollination. It's pretty cold here this morning. Lori and I are both shivering, so we're gonna go ahead and get started planting. We'll stop here and there if we need to show you something as far as planting these trees. So the area that we're planting in with these 3 trees are actually replacements. You'll see the soil was very soft. This particular spot had a Lorna apricot tree. If you guys remember, we had that tree actually break off in the wind, snapped right at the graft point. We had 2 apricot trees do the exact same thing on us that we're replacing here today. And also the cherry that we tried never came out of dormancy. So we're replacing that, which is why the dirt is so soft. The second thing that we're finding with these potted trees that you always need to be careful of is the planting depth. Now, we want to make sure that we have our trees raised slightly above ground level. The reason being, we have very, very hard caliche, a rock substance that's down about 2 feet. We raise these trees up and let them grow out to avoid that as long as possible. So we're always looking for the root crown. Now, one of the things you need to be careful of when you have a potted tree like this is finding that crown. It's where the flare of the root comes out. As I stopped to find out where this point was on this particular tree, I'm probably 2 to 3 inches below soil level before I hit that root crown. So if I wasn't paying attention, I would have planted this tree way too deep. So we have this first tree planted. A couple things I want to point out. First one is we do have this tree staked. You can see we had to pull a lot of the soil away because it was planted way too deep from the nursery. So we want to make sure we're staking this tree so that when it gets wind blown, which typically comes this direction, it keeps the tree nice and stable until those roots get established. Second thing you saw us doing is a lot of heavy wood chip mulch. One of the things that we have here in Arizona is obviously very, very high dry temperatures. The wood chip mulch helps to keep the soil moisture consistent. It also helps with temperatures in the middle of summer. And then of course, as far as irrigation is concerned, we'll use our standard irrigation on this tree. We have established trees in this run that's on the same zone as this tree. So our design, our double ring design that you guys have probably seen before, this is one of the advantages to that particular design. We have a small tree like this that needs to be watered up close to the trunk for the first few months until the roots are established and moving out, and then we'll water further away from the trunk. The rest of the trees on this zone, much larger trees, they are all being watered much further away from the trunk. So that double ring design that was already installed is ready to go. Now, one other thing that you won't see us doing here today is we will be putting Ivy Organics 3-in-1 plant guard on this tree. That will protect the trunk when it's young from sunburn and also from any pests that might go and try to peck at the trunk itself. Okay, we have 2 more trees to plant. One of them is exactly the same, but we need to get that male into the ground to make sure pollination is happening. So we have our 3 pistachio trees planted. This is the other Golden Hills, so we have these 2 kind of in a triangle, again, about 30 or so feet apart. So I think we're gonna be just fine as far as pollination is concerned. So we'll see whether or not these come out of dormancy. We're keeping our fingers crossed because the reality with pistachio trees is we won't have a harvest for 8 to 10 years. Hopefully we'll be grandparents by then. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We cover a lot of things here on this newly established functioning farm here in the Arizona desert. Obviously, fruiting trees are one of those, and today we planted a nut tree with you. If you have any questions or comments, those go in the comment section down below, and our Amazon shop. I'll leave a link down in the description. That is a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with the link down below, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you.
What?
Sneaky little devil.
Oh.
I think somebody was hibernating. He's not even opening his eyes. I think he's alive. Oh, yep. Yeah.
Cold.
He's alive. He's just cold like the rest of us. We'll find a good spot for him to hide. You know, I just realized
What?
the male pistachio tree is Randy for the Golden Hills females.
Okay.
Oh, I crack myself up sometimes. You know, Randy,
Because it's a male name?
it's male, so it's Randy for the females.
Oh my goodness.
Never mind.